Jordan Ridley has said he wants to leave Essendon. Channel 9 is reporting this. We're going to talk about what this means for the Bombers right now in this video.
We've always had the passion and the iron will. No.
So Jordan Ridley has said he wants to leave Essendon. Tom Morris is reporting and Channel 9 is reporting. Ideally to go to the Brisbane Lions. He apparently has some family connections in Queensland. He raised the prospect of a trade in his exit meeting and Essendon shut it down and said no. Now, he is contracted until the end of 2029, so he's got a lot of years left on his contract, and he is currently 26. He turns 27 in October. So there's a couple of ways to look at this. The first is, what are the cases for holding firm? All right, and saying no, because there are cases both ways, as there is with everything. What are the cases for saying, no, Jordan, you stay? Well, the first thing is that as much as, you get frustrated with players who are injured, and he is one who has played, I think, about 100 games out of a possible 200, and that is undeniable. That can't be argued. That's the reality that his career has been so far. But you also don't win premierships and you don't become a good team by getting rid of your best players, all right? That's just also a fact, all right? You need to keep your good players if you're going to be a good team. And he's in the peak of his career. He's 26 years old. Also, we have a new fitness boss coming in. And, could he be convinced, Ridley, that, well, hang on, we've had issues with our fitness program, with getting, players on the park. We've got a new guy coming in. We've sacked the old one. Why don't we have a look and, see how you go under the new guy, which is a pretty reasonable selling point as well. As for the cases to go, well, you could make an argument, a pretty strong argument, that if someone wants to leave, then you get rid of them straight away, all right? Because if someone wants to leave, the best thing to do is get as much for them in terms of draft picks and players immediately, because if you wait 1 year, their draft capital goes down a little bit. And if you wait another year, it goes down a bit more, etc., etc. So you get as much as you can for them now. It'd be like just if you're working in a job or a business, if someone doesn't want to be there, you let them go, right? You want players who want to be there. Now, I guess the thing about that particular argument is that we're not in the exit meeting, right? How passionately does he want to go? Is he just frustrated with the fact that he's getting injured and he's sort of blaming it on the club? And he really loves the club and wants to stay otherwise, and that's really the reason. Does he not see a future in the club in terms of success, that he wants to go to a successful club? Unless you're in the exit meeting, you don't really know. I mean, can he be convinced either way? And if he can be convinced to stay, would he then give 100% to the club? And that's the question. If he wouldn't give 100% to the club, well, you would get rid of him. But if you think that he would give 100% to the club and you can convince him that, hey, look, we've still got, you're one of our best players, we want you, you've signed a contract in good faith because we both agreed that we'd be here until, you'd stay here until 2029. If he can be convinced that, there is a future at the club there and that the new, the new fitness regime at Essendon can get him on the park, then maybe he can stay. So it's one of those things, it's very hard to know unless you're in the exit meeting itself, right? How strong are the family connections he has up there? Obviously, he's been in Melbourne for, well, he was drafted, when he was 18, so he's been here 8 or 9 years now. So he's obviously must have friends and family, down here as well. So it really is quite a delicate situation. So you've got to have a look at what draft picks as well Brisbane have if he wants to go to Brisbane. And the thing is, I wouldn't be setting, if I was Essendon, I wouldn't be just setting it on Brisbane. I would be getting other clubs into the mix as well and trying to get a three-way deal happening, because that way you can get, the more clubs you can get involved or interested in it, the more likely you are to get a good deal. If you get more clubs who want his services, then someone, you sort of go to the highest bidder, if you like. But for what it's worth, the Brisbane Lions draft picks are 16, 37, 40, 46, 48, 61 and 70. Now, this is also pretty delicate because Brisbane has got an NGA prospect, Dan Annable, who some say is the second or third best player in the draft. He's considered a top 5 pick by pretty much everybody. So to match a bid on him, which they're going to have to do, they're going to have to give up some of their top picks. I think their top pick 16 isn't going to be there. Pick 37, 40. They're going to have to give up a lot of these draft picks. Look at that, 16, 37, 40, 46, 48, 61, 70. They're going to have to give up quite a bit to get him. So they're not going to have a whole lot of draft picks. That's how it is now. But imagine how it's going to be after they match the bid on Annabelle, what they're going to be left with. And would Essendon even want draft picks in a what's perceived to be a weak draft? Now, that's fine if you've got picks 4 and 5, okay, as we have, because at pick 4 and 5, you're probably going to get a pretty good player. And we're pretty confident that Adam Swade and Hussein Al-Achkar, who are tipped to go in the high teens, low 20s, and we could probably use our second round pick on those players. We think they're going to be pretty good players as well. So when it's a weak draft, that doesn't really matter so much in the top 4 or 5 because you think they're going to be good players in pretty much any draft or even in the top 10. But in a perceived weak draft, I would want players, personally, especially when you're you're losing a 26-year-old defender who is probably your team, when he's on the park anyway, a 26-year-old who is your team's best defender, right? I would want, a very, very good defender in place of that. So that's, just what I would be asking for. And I wouldn't be just dealing with Brisbane. I would be dealing with other clubs as well. If he was set on go, if he 100% wanted to go, I said, well, okay, well, if you 100% wanted to go, we're going to get other clubs involved. All right, we're going to get other clubs involved. We're not going to just settle on Brisbane. If you're 100%, if you're saying that you do not want to be there, then we're just going to go to the highest bidder. Because you would definitely play hardball on something like this and try to get as best you can out of it. But I would want players from Brisbane, 100%. I wouldn't want, the dregs of the draft. And I know you can get, maybe a first round pick the following season from Brisbane. You can go for a future pick. But even that, where's a future pick going to be with Brisbane next year? They could win the premiership again, be up in the top 4. So I would be wanting players involved in a trade like this, and I would definitely not want to be coming out of this in a bad way. You got to remember, it's different losing a 30-year-old or someone in their early 30s like Dylan Shield, or even someone really young who you can trade for a draft pick, and then you're getting another draft pick who's 1 or 2 years younger than the 21-year-old that you leave. We're talking about a 26-year-old who will be turning 27 in October, who is, when he's on the park, is one of the team's best 3 or 4 players. So I want to know what you guys think in the comments, because I'm a bit torn. I haven't really decided what I think about this yet, given that the news broke, and I find it hard to have a crystallised opinion on it unless you are in the exit meeting and you know exactly how passionate he is about leaving, and if he really wants to, or can his arm be twisted, and can he commit 100% to Essendon? Because my personal preference, at this stage, if I had to have my arm twisted and I had to give a personal preference, I would rather him stay for 2 reasons. He's the club's best defender, number 1. And we've got a new fitness regime coming in who I would like to see try to get these injured players on the park. That's what I'd like to see. Now, maybe he's just an injury-prone player, and maybe there's nothing that can be saved there, and maybe it's just better to cut your losses now. And I understand that logic. I get that. But we've got a new fitness guy, new head of high performance coming in right now. So you want to see what they can do. That's kind of the whole point, that's why we made the change at that level. We made the change because we have a lot of soft tissue injuries, and we want a new person overseeing this to see if they can get on top of the problem. So I'd like to see them try to get on top of the problem and fix it and get Jordan Ridley out there playing. That would, at this stage, that would be my personal preference. Now, if he is 100% set on leaving, and I mean 100, and cannot be convinced either way, in that case, you've got to let him go. You can't just say, Jordan, we're going to hold you to your contract no matter what. If he's 100% wants to go, then you obviously then have to do a deal, and you try to get another club involved perhaps, and you get what's best you can. But is he 100%? Is it 100%, or can he be convinced to stay? And can he be convinced to let the new head of high performance try to get on top of the injury crisis that we've had and get him on the park? So it's a bit of a delicate situation. I lean towards wanting him to stay more than wanting him to go. But then again, I don't know how passionate he is about wanting to go and whether his arm can be twisted. Because all my thoughts generally on any player that wants to go is that you let them go, right? But sometimes when a player says they want to go, they're kind of leaning one way and they might not be 100% and you might be able to convince them the other way. It depends how full on they are about it, right? And that's one thing that only he knows, and perhaps only the club knows from the conversation they had with him in the exit meeting. So the news has just broke. I want you guys to let me know what you think in the comments. It's a pretty delicate situation. I don't know what's going to happen. He's contracted until 2029. I'd certainly want something good. Let me know, what would you want in return? Remembering that Brisbane's draft picks, some of their better picks in the draft, they're going to have to be absorbed through the NGA pick that they're going to have. So they're not going to have many high picks to give us. In fact, they're not going to have any high picks to give us. So what would you want in terms of players from the Brisbane Lions? I'm just having a look at Brisbane's list right now. Of course, you've got Zorko, who's in his 30s. Jasper Fletcher is 21. Darcy Wilmot is 21. Keenan Coleman is 25. Harris Andrews, they're not going to get rid of him, surely. That'd probably be a good trade. Harris Andrews is 28. All right, so similar age bracket to Ridley. Jack Payne's 25, and Brandon Starcevic, who has been linked to Essendon anyway, is 26, but obviously not as good as player as Jordan Ridley. So, what type of player would you really want, and who would you be willing to accept from the Brisbane Lions in a trade? There's only so many there who would fit us. I mean, Starcevic is the right age bracket. He's not as good a player as Ridley. That's the other thing. But he's a pretty good, solid B-list, I guess, defender is the way I would call him. And the thing is, of course, we can get Starcevic as a free agent anyway, totally unrelated to the Ridley situation, and we could very well end up with him. So that's not even a player that we would look at from a trade perspective. We want something else in addition to that, given that we could theoretically get him through another avenue. So I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. This is obviously pretty big news for the Bombers. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in the end and if we can make it work for us one way or the other. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to leave it there. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Have a great day. And as always, go Bombers.